I've been thinking about whether it's solemn for me. And I have to be honest, I'm the only one, maybe I'm alone on this. It isn't solemn for me, right? So I think it's really late and it isn't solemn for me. This is finally the first time that I feel that Donald Trump is being treated like a normal American.
Can I ask you what the not solemn feeling is? Does it have a name?
Is schadenfreude appropriate?
It's a noun, but I got it. Yes. I understand. Yes.
I just want to say I agree with you completely, and I feel invigorated.
All right, guys. So I know I give CNN a hard time, right? Because they truly are the clown news network. But quite honestly, they're not nearly as bad or radical as MSNBC. Even though CNN tries their best to be MSNBC, to out-radical them, but they just simply can't. Because MSNBC, in my opinion, just straight up sponsors domestic terrorism, particularly against whites and Republicans, right? People who they disagree with politically, okay? It truly is an extremist network. And if you can argue that Fox News should be taken off air because of extremism, I'm not sure how you wouldn't argue that MSNBC shouldn't be taken off air for the same reason. The only difference is that Fox News is not nearly as radical as MSNBC actually is, right? So that brings me to our, good friend, Joy Reid, okay, who, as you saw at the beginning of this video, she is feeling schadenfreude, right? Even though, again, that's a noun, okay? Schadenfreude is basically deriving pleasure from somebody else's misery or misfortune, right? This is what she's openly saying on air about Trump being indicted for the third time, this time having to do with January 6th. And you saw her white liberal simp friend there, Chris Hayes, saying that he's invigorated, right? So you have journalists live on air at MSNBC openly talking about how they're deriving pleasure out of seeing Trump get indicted, which, again, I try to tell you guys, I really do believe that these people enjoy watching Trump get indicted and go through legal troubles more so than they enjoy sex, right? They enjoy this more than they enjoy sex with their partners, right? This is their version of sex, right? This is the most exciting and pleasurable parts of their life, is watching Trump's apparent misery, right, and misfortune, which goes to show you how miserable these people are, right? These people are sad human beings, okay, because they're more obsessed with Trump than they are their significant others, okay? So, hey, I mean, Joy Reid will probably have another, year of masturbation material here because of this indictment coming against Trump. And for every new indictment against Trump, for the mainstream liberal media, it's kind of the equivalent of a young teenage boy finding a new adult female actress to get off to, right? It's like a whole new world. The obsession that the mainstream liberal media, people like Joy Reid, have with President Trump is downright creepy, to be quite honest with you. No wonder her ratings are the smallest that they've ever been, right? Her ratings are in the tank, okay? She shed 60% of her audience. But in her excitement about Trump being indicted, she actually admits the quiet part out loud, okay, about what a lot of people are thinking in regards to this specific trial, okay, and the judge in the case against Trump, which is whether or not it's going to be fair, right? Can Trump get a fair trial in ultra woke, ultra liberal DC? And it just so happens that Joy Reid says the quiet part out loud about this question that we all have in regards to whether or not Trump can get a fair trial, because she basically strongly alludes to this idea that Trump actually might face racism because the trial judge is a so-called woman of color, and he's facing what she calls demographic reality. Take a look.
They oppose that venue for many reasons. The demographics of it are interesting. This judge named, I believe this magistrate judge is Mokshila Upadhyaya, or Upadhyaya, I might be pronouncing it wrong, a woman of color. The judge he will be facing in the trial, Jamaican-born woman of color. He seems to be facing sort of demographic reality, legal reality, and, situational reality. He is.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Joy Reid, who's obsessed with race, I don't think she actually realized what she was saying there, in the sense that she's admitting that race is going to play a role in how this trial goes, right? Which I'm not sure what January 6th has to do with race, right? But, you know, again, with the mainstream liberal media, everything is about race, right? And they can't analyze anything. They can't analyze politics without using race, okay? And what you have here is a race-obsessed race hustler basically admitting the quiet part out loud that, hey, the skin color of the judge is going to have an impact on how she judges this trial. That, again, she's not going to be impartial, that she's going to basically let her skin color and presumably Trump's skin color affect her judgment, because apparently Trump is facing the realities of demographics, which is something that, you know, hey, the liberal media said was a conspiracy, right? When you come out here and you say, hey, you know, whites are declining in population, and that, you know, you have more so-called people of color, you know, they call you conspiracy theorists. They say that, you know, that's, you know, white supremacists, right? That's white nationalist talk, right? But again, the liberal media, they go on TV all day long and talk about demographic change, and when they talk about it as a good thing, right, is a undoubtedly, right, undisputably a good thing, that's totally fine, right? While acknowledging what, you know, people have been saying the whole time, is that the country is becoming less white. And apparently the country becoming less white is bad for white people like Trump, because apparently so-called people of color, so-called women of color, are going to judge people like Trump harshly because of his skin color, right? That, to me, seems to be what Joy Reid is alluding to here, right? I mean, that's what it seems. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how you can interpret that. I'm not sure why would you bring up demographics, right, skin color, if you're not arguing that it's not going to have some effect on the outcome of this trial. So again, Joy Reid is basically implying that the judge is racist, right? The judge might be racist against Trump, right? I'm just saying, y'all help me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's what it sounds like to me. And apparently that's okay. Right? She's totally fine and cool with that, because if the reverse was happening here, if you had a white judge, okay, and somebody went on television and basically openly laughed and celebrated this idea that, hey, the judge is white, and the defendant in this case happens to be black, and they're facing the reality of demographics, right? You know, I wonder how would the mainstream liberal media react to that. I think that they would say, well, that's not something to celebrate, and we should be asking questions about whether or not the defendant can get a fair trial. But when it comes to Trump, right, it's totally fine, it's totally fair, even when they acknowledge that, yeah, skin color may play a part in this, okay, in regards to whether or not he can get a fair trial, because apparently the so-called woman of color Jamaican judge is a racist, right, according to Joy Reid, okay? So, yeah, who is this judge, right? Who is this judge who will be presiding over this trial? Well, who better to tell you about this judge than CNN, who, you know, openly acknowledges that this judge probably is not going to give Trump a fair trial. Take a look.
Is bedrock.
Judge Tanya Chutkan was confirmed 95-0 by the U.S. Senate in 2014 after being nominated by President Barack Obama.
The nomination is confirmed.
For nearly a decade, she's served as one of about 24 judges at the federal trial court in Washington, D.C.
The ideal judge has always been for me one who is open-minded, fair, and prepared.
But now that she's been selected at random to preside over Donald Trump's criminal case for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election, her impartiality is being questioned.
She worked for Boies Schiller, which of course is Hunter Biden's firm of choice.
In November 2021, Chutkan forcefully rejected Trump's attempts to block the January 6th committee from accessing more than 700 pages of his White House records, writing, "Presidents are not kings, and plaintiff is not president." Her decision was slammed by Trump, but delighted Democrats leading the congressional investigation into the Capitol attack.
It's a big deal. We have a lot of information we've requested.
Judge Chutkan has also overseen dozens of criminal cases against Capitol rioters, and in the process implicated Trump on several occasions, telling one rioter during sentencing that he did not go to the United States Capitol out of any love for our country. He went for one man. She also pushed back against claims that the protesters on January 6th can be compared to other people protesting against racial inequality in recent years, saying during one hearing in 2021 to compare the actions of people protesting, mostly peacefully for civil rights, to those of a violent mob seeking to overthrow the lawfully elected government is a false equivalency and ignores a very real danger that the January 6th riot posed to the foundation of our democracy.
The judge has been very strong in her rulings relating to January 6th. She has given many memorable statements, presidents are not kings and the like. So good draw for the prosecution.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Tanya Chutkan, right? Anybody believes that this obviously, clearly, extremely woke, anti-Trump, happened to be Jamaican woman of color, judge was chosen at random. If you really believe this person was chosen at random, I have some beachfront property to sell you out in the middle of Nevada, right? In the middle of the desert, okay? Beachfront property, beautiful, okay? I can sell it to you at a premium price, right? I'm just saying. I don't think that this was random, okay? And I don't think that this judge is going to be impartial. I think that this judge clearly is a radical. Okay, she's a radical leftist. She worked for Hunter Biden, the same law firm that Hunter Biden worked at. At the same time, this law firm was working for Burisma, right? Okay, on behalf of Hunter Biden. Okay, this woman clearly has it out for January 6th protesters, and she clearly has a strong anti-Trump bias. And you mean to tell me you think that Trump is going to get a fair trial in D.C. with this woman presiding over it who clearly hates Trump? Nah, I don't think so, right? I'm just saying. I think they need to pick a new judge, right? I think they need to pick a new judge. You can clearly see what's going on here from the deep state. Not only are they going after Trump at the most convenient times to cover up for Joe Biden, they're also picking judges, like the worst possible judge that Trump could get in regards to him getting a fair trial. I mean, this judge is biased as hell, and it is clear that she's a Democrat Party operative. She's as radical as it gets. Okay, this judge really believes that January 6th was worse than the BLM riots, right? When clearly the BLM riots were much worse than January 6th by any objective measure, right? Whether you're measuring the impact around the country as a whole, whether you're measuring the lives lost as a result, damages, okay? Just any measure you want to use, the BLM riots were clearly worse than the January 6th protests. But according to this lady, no, you can't make a comparison, which she might be right about that. You can't make a comparison because I really don't think you can compare January 6th to the BLM riots because the BLM riots were just objectively way worse, right? Way worse, okay? But again, she thinks the exact opposite, that the January 6th protests were much worse than the mostly peaceful BLM riots, right? Her words, the BLM riots were mostly peaceful. Again, this judge is delusional, right? She's not living in reality. So I don't think that she should be presiding over this trial when clearly she's biased and she's living in cuckoo for Cocoa Puff world, right? She's not in touch with reality. She's a woke activist. So again, I mean, we should be demanding that this judge be removed, okay? That they pick a new judge because I don't think that this is random. And clearly, the man is not going to get a fair trial. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.